Jacob Stevens, how are you, brother? How was Havasu, man?
I'm doing good. It was a good weekend. It's nice and good temperatures, and it was just a quad weekend. It was cool to just have the quad, you know, families there and stuff like that. And it's cool to be with the dirt bikes, but it's always nice to just get the facility to ourselves. And it was a good weekend.
UTVs too?
Yeah, quads and UTVs.
So we had a full house of racing, multiple different classes. We talked about covering some of the other deals. Did you get a chance to look at any of the youth classes?
Yeah, I watched a couple. It's hard for me because I'm not too familiar with any of the kids, name wise or stuff like that. But I watched a couple. It was a decent turnout for the kids, I think, better than the previous two rounds. But I feel like they split them up a lot. There's a lot of different classes that these youth riders can choose from, and it ends up being just a few in each class. So it'd be kind of sweet to cut a couple classes out and get them all together more. Or, maybe it's just the age difference that it right now. So but yeah, it was cool to watch some of the kids go around and the future of our sport.
That was you just a few days ago.
Just a few days.
Dude, you're not that old, so
I'm getting there. I'll be 25 here soon.
Oh, wow, that's so old.
Yeah.
My youngest child is older than you.
Wow.
Yeah, so don't even think that you're old yet.
My age might be young, but my body feels it after all the years of motocross.
It doesn't hurt at all now. When you get to 55, 60, then you'll know pain.
I believe that.
No big deal, though. Hey,
Yeah.
What were the Open A and the Open production classes like, or do they still have a production class?
Yeah, they still have a production class. You know what? The Pro-Am gate was stacked this weekend. There's a lot of people that decided, they qualified in the Open A and Production A classes that, they wanted to race Pro-Am. And I want to say there was at least 18 to 20 riders on the gate, which was, it was really cool to see, that many riders on one line. But yeah, no, they were good races. Cole Fryer was killing it all weekend. He won the Production A class. I'm not sure off the top of my head who won the Open A class. But yeah, I mean, those kids are ripping, and they're the highlight of the Pro-Am class right now. So they'll be moving up here soon, and should be some more pro riders coming up.
That's awesome. To see the growth of the classes is excellent. The women's pro class seems to be growing also.
Yeah, they had I think there was 6 or 7 of them this weekend.
Yeah,
which
that's
is yeah, excellent turnout. I mean, compared to last year, I know there's a couple girls that had moved up, like Dakota Hibbler. She moved up to the women's pro class, and I think Lainey Fryer did too. So yeah, it's a good class to watch as well.
Yeah, the growth is incredible to get those rolling, and that's just the backbone. The more the ladies can do well, I think you're going to get more and more girls into the sport, and riding in the youth classes, or whether they come up and run in the pro class. Torey's still young, so she's still got years to go. I know that Donna's a little on the older side. No offense, Donna. I know you're still young in comparison, but she's a seasoned veteran, where Torey is a seasoned veteran, but she's still young.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's holding it down. She rode great this weekend. She got a nice little gap, behind in front of the other girls, and just kind of held her race and hit her marks and came out with the win at Havasu.
And it's hard to win at Havasu. I don't care what class you run in. I mean, it's just a rough race to to win. I mean, in
Yeah,
any
I mean
class.
it's definitely the even past physical, you know, the mental game at Havasu is very difficult to beat just because, you know, on these long races and these endurance races, the track is so short, you know, they're only running, you know, I mean, the pros are running 5-minute lap times. So, you know, 17 laps on a track is a long time. And, you know, to me, it feels like the shorter the track and, you know, 90 minutes is 90 minutes no matter where we go. But the shorter the lap time is, it almost feels like the race takes longer because it just starts to feel repetitive and like, you know, halfway through you feel like you did 3 hours. So, you know, it's a mentally challenging track to keep your composure and, you know, not make the mistakes. It's real tight and technical. So, you know, it's a tough track. It's definitely, if I had to say, the toughest track that we go to.
You get almost 40 quads out there, and the track is changing every lap.
Yeah, every lap. It's crazy. And, you know, watching it from the sidelines, it's kind of hard to see how the track was changing. And, you know, I could see that, you know, the pro riders were starting to choose some different lines towards the end. They were trying to stay on the outsides of the berms, you know, stay out of the real choppy, rough stuff to, you know, conserve energy, even if it was a little slower, as long as they weren't getting, you know, beat up all race long. I think that was a smart call on a couple of the guys in the front that were switching up their lines towards the end. But yeah, no, the track changes every lap. I mean, there's something new or a new hole or a rut or something in every corner, every single lap there.
You know, I've gotten to ride 3 different machines on that track: a Honda 450R, a KFX 700, and a 660 Raptor. And you can say what you want about, you know, the 660 or the KFX. I don't care. Even on that 450, that track is rough.
Yeah, no,
Period.
it's brutal. It's brutal. And I mean, even, you know, these guys that have been racing for however many years at Works, you know, Logan Huff and the Stanford boys and Bo and Braxton, every year it just seems like they say, at least every year, it just gets worse. It gets rougher and rougher every time they go there. And, you know, it's a different animal, Havasu, and it's hard to prepare for, and it's hard to you know, have a solid race.
One of the things I just despised about Havasu, only this is probably the only negative I could come away with, is you'd take a beautiful new machine there, and when you were done with the race, you had a worn out old machine.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does a number on your machine, and, you know, through the bearings and the chains. And you know, a couple people threw some chains this weekend, and you know, it's tough on the bikes. You know, that's beach sand. If you know, everybody says, you know, you go to Redbud, it's a sand track, which, yeah, it's sand, but Havasu is like, it's like sandblasting your machine for 90 minutes straight.
No, it's a real. That's a real sand track.
Yeah,
So if you guys
yeah,
really want to know what a sand track is, come on out to Havasu and give it a whirl.
yeah,
I would take the best motocross guys in the world and have them come here. You know, Joel, Chad, Max, Brandon Hogue, all of them come
yeah,
out to this race. And after 90 minutes, if you put it on these boys there, you know, we're going to bow,
yeah,
because this is real off-road racing in its finest. I mean, I love Havasu. I love Mesquite because they're just so brutal on everybody.
yeah. That's, those tracks definitely separate, you know, the people who put the work in and the people who don't. And yeah, no, they're very, very challenging tracks. Definitely, out of my 11 years of racing four wheelers, it's the toughest thing I've done is race Havasu.
I love it. I love it. It's always my favorite place,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
a good one.
always. But so let's get down to brass tacks and get what everybody came here to listen to. They want to know the report on the pro class, and I'm going to just let you break it down with well, you know what, we're going to go. We had a little prediction talk before the race, and we were talking about different riders. You know, I talked about the rookies and Travis Damon. You mentioned Bo obviously being, you know, the odds-on favorite, but I brought up the fact that this track, out of every track that he's ever raced on, is his Achilles heel.
It is, and it definitely showed this weekend. And you know, I gotta give my hats off to the rookie Braxton Gross. He came out swinging, and you know, Travis had some unfortunate, you know, things happen in the moto. He was riding really solid. But I mean, man, from watching it, Braxton was just, he was definitely the best guy this weekend.
That's incredible. So break it down for us from the drop of the green flag.
Yeah. So, you know, Braxton pulled the whole shot. He came out first. It was Travis in second. And I want to say it was Kenny, or no, it was Roberto Villalobos in third. And you know, they rode like that for a couple laps, and Bo didn't have a great start. It was a live engine, which I was surprised that they did a live engine, because usually we do dead starts at every track that doesn't have a gate. But they did a flag drop this weekend, and Bo didn't get the greatest start, and you know, he worked his way into third, and you know, Braxton was just, he was about a second and a half faster than both of them for you know, the first 25 minutes. So he was just, as Travis and Bo were, you know, kind of battling and going back and forth, you know, Braxton just took it to his advantage, and you know, rode his fast laps and pulled a little bit of a gap. And I would say about halfway, once everybody started to pit, the lap before Bo pitted, he got Travis, and then Bo went into the pit, and something must have happened to Bo that lap. And I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if he, you know, blew a berm, or, you know, maybe got stuck behind a lapper, or, you know, it's a tight track. So, you know, I was talking to Braxton, and he said the lappers were real tough to get around these, you know, these guys in the real tight sections. And that was definitely one of the challenges that they had to face during that race, because there was just so many Pro-Am riders on the track that the lappers definitely played a big role. But yeah, I don't know what happened to Bo. He lost a good amount of time, and then, you know, he pitted, and then Braxton went another 2 laps without pitting, and I believe that might have sealed the deal, because, you know, by the time Braxton pitted and got out of the pits, he had a good 30 seconds on Bo. And, you know, Travis was right there on Bo. And then Travis pulled into the pits with 2 rear flat tires, which I want to say he popped them very early into the race, because you could kind of see him starting to fall back a little bit. And then, you know, he made the decision to pull into the pits and change both rear tires, which, you know, he lost a lap on everybody. And then I think the same lap, I want to say it was Kenny Sanford. He cased the lagoon jump, and I don't know if he stalled the bike or it just kind of, like, you know, abrupt stopped him, and Bo was right behind him, and Bo decided, you know, not to jump the jump and roll into the lagoon, and you know, bike shut off, and then one of the riders, Austin Baxter, pulled him back to the pits, and then they got it firing in the pits, and he just kind of salvaged with what he had to. But, you know, it was a big chain of events. There was probably 6 or 7 different people on the podium throughout the whole race, and you know, Braxton just did his thing, and you know, green flag to checkers. He led the whole thing.
Wow, that's a rookie coming out and winning Havasu. Well, winning on their first year as a rookie is always tough,
Yeah.
but to win at Havasu your rookie year, look out, boys. I think that you have a guy that's going to try to take on Bo's, you know, title match. You know, if Bo steps away, it's going to be Braxton Gross, you know, year after year.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to, you know, Logan Huff and Travis and a lot of these other guys, and, you know, we're big respect to Braxton. I mean, we all know the kid could ride, he was fast, but, you know, it blew my socks off a little bit seeing him out there leading and winning the race. I was very, very impressed, and, you know, it hits me a little harder. You know, I'm gonna have my work cut out for me going back into the series next year, and hopefully we can get some good racing in.
So let's talk a little bit hybrid. You know, they didn't seem to do well at Havasu this year. I know Bo probably had some bad luck. He was running in second, but Roberto,
Yeah, Bo didn't race his hybrid.
really?
Yeah, something happened to it. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't get the full details on what happened. But he decided to race his production quad this weekend. So Roberto, I don't know what happened. They were kind of being weird with penalties with the lagoon jump. It was almost like if you cased it, or if you came up a little short, or something were to happen on it, they were docking everybody 2 minutes.
So
So
if
I
you
think,
didn't make the jump, they gave you a penalty?
yeah, and it was kind of weird how they were doing it. And then after the race, it was a big ordeal. A lot of people were getting docked points. Bo, you know, I think the penalty in itself is going into the lagoon. It's not like it was an advantage. And then, they're talking about docking him 2 minutes, and I don't know how it all panned out, or if they just kind of dropped it. But that was the rumor going around the track after the race was over. But Roberto was riding good in the beginning, and then yeah, I don't know if he just kind of fell off, or like I said, something happened. It's definitely the best track to watch at, but there's a lot of sections out there that you can't really see, and sometimes they go into the abyss and they come out in a completely different position they went into it. So something must have happened to him, and he went from a top 4, top 5 position there in the beginning to pretty far back behind Logan Huff and Cody Sanford and all those guys.
Well, Cody was second, and
Yeah, so it was crazy because Cody started dead last, and he worked his way into 4th, and then the catastrophe that happened with Travis's tires and Bo going into the lagoon, he kind of sunk into. Actually, I think Logan Huff he got him back somewhere, and then Logan or Cody was running him down. Actually, he was gaining a good amount of time on Logan, and I believe Logan threw a chain, and then Cody sunk into second. And honestly, an even bigger impressive position was Travis Damon. He changed 2 rear tires and was a lap down on everybody, and he made every pass he had to get back on that podium, which was.
so how far up did Braxton lap into the pro class?
I guess
Did he lap Damon?
4th. So I don't think he lapped Damon. So as Damon was pulling out of the pits, Braxton was coming across the finish line. So there was probably a 15-second gap that he had, but Travis was. I don't believe Travis or Braxton caught Travis in that lap, because I mean Travis. In all honesty, I think not taking anything away from Braxton because he rode a great race, but I think if Travis wouldn't have had those mechanical failures, it would have been a battle, because Travis, that late moto, Travis definitely looked like he stood out the most with the physically. And I was hoping that it was going to be a good race, a good battle, but stuff happens, and that's part of racing. And like I said, hats off to Braxton. He did exactly what he needed to do to secure the win that weekend. So but yeah, no, Travis, he was on a mission those last 30 minutes.
Travis being a grown man,
Yeah.
and me having the pleasure to work with him the small stint that I did get to, he's strong and he's motivated.
Yeah, he's an ox. He don't quit. There ain't no quitting that kid, and no matter what happens, he's gonna go out and he's gonna give it everything he's got, and wherever he finishes, he finishes.
Yeah, and he must like that Yamaha.
He does. I was talking to him a little bit about it. He's happy on the Yamaha. He says it. He says it. It's a little bit more. It's just different. I think he was used to the Honda, even though he's only been racing quads for such a little time, that he got on something different, and I think he's really enjoying it.
Yeah, because it's easy to ride.
I mean, it's definitely a little bit easier than a Honda, especially at a
Easy.
track
Whoa,
like
whoa,
Havasu.
whoa. Hey, what was on the podium first and second?
That was a Honda.
Okay, well, there you go.
I'm just saying they might be a little easier to ride.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
They are a little easier
Yeah.
to ride.
Shout out to Mike
Easier to
Sloan.
control.
Shout out to Mike Sloan. He is the only one to put the Yamaha on the top of the box in Havasu. He's did it twice.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, no, I think he did it 3 times. He might have done it 3 times.
I'm not
I
sure.
could be wrong, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But shout out to him. I believe that the platform is going to get there in off road because the Honda platform is definitely going to change. I
Yeah.
don't think hybrids this year or maybe even next year will be where they need to be to dominate,
I
but it's
agree.
going to happen. It's going to come.
Eventually, I think. I mean, it's same thing that happened in the early 2000s with the 250Rs. I mean, it came and then it passed, and it's just, I think at this point in ATV racing, it's inevitable, and those machines are just going to be eventually just better all around. So I think it's just going to be one of those things that we all have to transition into and accept the fate of the production machines, unfortunately.
Yep, that's true. Cody's brother, Kenny, how did he fare?
He rode well. He pulled off a fourth. It was like I said, it was a brutal track. I think about halfway, everybody, it looked like it was taking a toll on them. They started to slow down a little bit, and everybody started to get a little tired. But he rode strong, and he salvaged a fourth, which was good because he had a couple rough laps that put him back pretty far in the beginning of the race, and he just he kept doing what he was doing, and fortunately for him, a couple people had some breakdowns, a couple people you know went into the lagoon, and he finished fourth. So he rode well.
Who popped into the 5 spot?
It was Roberto
Really?
Villalobos. Yeah. Bo was sixth. Logan finished seventh.
Bummer.
Yeah,
And
Logan was down about 5 laps
with that chain deal,
with the chain breaking. Yeah.
and Austin Baxter got
Yeah, I
8th.
mean he got 8th, and I talked to him before the race, and he told me his goal was just to finish. He said all I want to do is finish the race. He said I'm not in shape for this. He's like, I haven't been training for off-road that long, and his goal this year is to finish every round, and tell you what, he
He
went
finished.
out there and he finished. He rode good. I mean, the first half he was riding great, and then you could see him get a little tired, and he's just got a newborn baby, and all that stuff. So he met his goal, and the kid can ride. So I think if he gets some training underneath him, I think there's another rider that will be a force to reckon with up front.
Yeah, he's a very talented young man.
Yeah, very good.
That's incredible stuff. What's the next round, and when is it?
It is in Blythe. It is, I want to say, like the first weekend in April, which is like the 1st and the 2nd. I think it's that weekend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Blythe is a rough track, but a smooth track all at the same time.
Yeah, I've never been, but I hear great things about it. Some people say it's amazing. Some people says it's terrible. So
I think it's another sand. I don't think that's got the same coarse sand that Havasu has with the same amount of rocks, but I think it's another sand deal.
Yeah. I'm not sure too much about it. I've never been. So it'd be cool to go there and hang out and watch. There's some talk that I had with my physical therapist over the weekend, actually, that I might be able to at least go out there and do some motor practice or something light and get my legs back over the bike.
Well, we're counting on seeing that, buddy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
I'll tell you what, watching these races from the sidelines, it definitely lights a little bit of a fire under my ass.
Makes you want to go back out there and do it, doesn't it?
It makes you want to go back out there and win more than I probably wanted to win before, which is kind of crazy. I didn't think I'd have that mentality, but you see these guys on the gate. And it's not even watching the race, because I enjoy watching any racing, dirt bikes, quads, side by sides. I enjoy watching the racing. So it's not even watching them race. It's when they're all lined up on the gate. That, like, I don't know, there's something about just standing there, not in my gear, without my four-wheeler, that just, yeah, it just lights a fire under me.
Well, being that I was never a pro in the same aspect of you and the other guys, but when you're not a competitor anymore, so when I was a mechanic, it was one thing,
Mm,
but when you're standing there and you're standing on the sidelines, your desire to be on the track, it's almost like an addiction.
yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy to even think about, because I was, I don't think I had that grit at the end of last year. I mean, yeah, the shoulder was one thing, but I was just lacking a little bit of the grit and motivation. It was just, we were going through some tough times with JSR and money and all that stuff, and we don't need to get into all that, but I was struggling a little bit mentally at the end of last year. But these last few months break, I think it gave me a good, healthy, like, step away, deep breath, and then being at the track again, watching these guys ride. It's like, I'm gonna work my ass off to get back out there.
That's awesome. Daytona's tomorrow.
Yep.
This is going to publish on Friday on YouTube. Prediction for Daytona.
That's a
Top
tough
5.
one.
Come on, throw it out
That's
there.
a tough one.
Don't be afraid. Come on. They're all your
Oh,
friends.
they are all my friends, and it's so hard to pick. I'm gonna have to just go with a traditional pick.
Oh,
I'm
come
gonna
on, man.
go Joey first, Chad second. I'm gonna put
Joey.
Hogue, Joel Hetrick.
Okay.
I'm gonna put Joel first, Chad second. I'm gonna put Hogue third. That's tough. I'm gonna go Hogue third, just because of his history at Daytona. Ford fourth, and I'm gonna have to go Max Lindquist fifth. Which sucks, because there's so many guys that can be in that top 5. I mean, Jeffrey Estrelli, Wesley Wolf's back.
Yep.
He doesn't have a lot of training under his belt. I know his mentality is just kind of go out there and log laps and get back in the groove of things. But I mean, he could shock the world and get
You
in
got
that
Kevin
top 5.
Sarr there.
Kevin Sarr, Nick Janusa. There's just so many guys that can be in that top 5. It's a hard pick, but I think that's a pretty solid order.
They're going to have qualifying.
Yeah, there's
That's
a lot of pros, a lot of
Pro-Am
rookies.
class. Pro-Am class too. They got to qualify
Yeah.
for both classes.
Yeah, there's a lot of riders down there. I mean, the rookies in the pro class, there's like 4, which I mean, I can't tell you the last year that there was 4 rookies going in the pro class.
Dane Molander.
Molander, Aaron Salinas, Adam Ulrich.
Okay.
There's one more. Can't think of. Oh, Blair Miller.
No, he's not
going
in the
up
pro
too.
class.
Oh, he's
He's
not
in the
racing
Pro-Am.
pro?
No,
Is he
he's in the
racing
Pro-Am.
pro-am? I thought he
Yep.
was going pro. I think there's one more that I'm not thinking of, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, at least 3 rookies going into that class. So I mean,
Isn't Allred back?
Michael Allred's back. That it's gonna be a good race, because there's a lot. That top 10 is gonna be, it's gonna be tough to just get in that top 10. Logan Stanfield, Zach Decker. These kids are fast. So I'm excited. I'm gonna be working tomorrow, but I'm gonna try to.
Well, I threw down a non-traditional pick for my podium guys. I didn't put Joel and Chad on the podium.
No.
I figure that all these other guys are gonna fight their way through. Joel whole shots at Chad, whole shots at, they're gonna be on the podium.
And that's the toughest part about Daytona, is it's such a tight. I mean, it's Supercross, and in my opinion, I love that we go there. I love the the atmosphere and the fact that we can have a spotlight at Daytona. I think it's an amazing event, but the track is very, very difficult. It's very tight. It's very technical. It's very difficult to pass, and the start is going to be a major key tomorrow. So I mean, you never know. I mean, Jeffrey Shelley could pull a whole shot and lead the whole race. So it's going to be up in the air, and I'm I just go with my gut because I know in the years past, Joey's had some tough luck there, and I think he's just in a different mindset this year. I think he's gonna be the one to beat this year. I mean, he's the one to beat. Him and Chad are the ones to beat every year, but I just think he's on another level than everybody else.
I can't see Chad having bad luck 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I can't either.
I can't see Joel having luck 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Nothing against either one of those two guys.
Right.
I really, really like both of them.
Yeah.
I watched, I've been behind the scenes, which I don't know if you've seen the video or not, but I got to go behind the scenes with the 4130 team, and we got to officially launch them. And I've seen the hard work that Max is doing. I've seen how hard he's working. I've talked to Brandon Hogue, and I haven't got to talk to Nick, but I've been watching his videos.
And these guys, they're putting every single one of them. Like I said, they're all my friends, and I don't talk to every single one of them regularly, but I keep up on social media. I'm seeing what they're doing, and I think that this year, I don't think that anybody's going into this season with a disadvantage. Everybody put the work in. Everybody's in good shape. Everybody's ready to go. So I could be completely wrong in my top 5. It could, Bryce Ford is he's coming fast, and I think that he's one of the kids to talk about gonna be taking a title eventually here in the future. It could be this year, you never know. The kid has worked his butt off. He's super fast. Brandon Hogue works his butt off. He's on a great program this year. Max Lindquist, he works his butt off. Solid program as usual. I know he had a couple big sponsor changes, and I think, in my opinion, those sponsor changes are going to work out for the better. So yeah, there's a lot of people in that class this year that can win a race, I think, and I think it's going to be up for some good racing.
Bryce is coming off of a phenomenal 2022.
Yeah, phenomenal 2022. He came out west. He beat everybody in the Huevos Challenge, and kid's motivated. I think that
Team USA.
Yeah, Team USA, they went out, and won that. He's had a phenomenal 2022, and I think that, a lot of people have said some bad things about him in the past, and I think he's got that, I want to prove everybody wrong grit that, some of these athletes get, and that is probably some of the scariest motivation that you could give somebody.
I don't think that they were justified in it. From the dealings that I've had with Bryce, I think he's a top-notch young man.
Oh, maybe he is very top-notch
Maybe he's done some things off track that I'm not privy to, but I don't give a shit about that. I care about
it's none of what he's done off the track. It's none of any of that. Like I've said in the past, the national industry is a very tight-knit industry, and everybody knows everybody. Everybody's secrets gets out, and there's people that say things that shouldn't be said, and I think that it's gotten back to Bryce, and I think that he's just got that he wants to prove the world wrong.
Right.
And I think that's a motivation that you give an athlete, and that's a scary motivation.
And he's got that mindset. When his mind's clicking just right, you're not going to shut him down.
Yeah. And there's a lot of these riders that, get into the pro class. And I think that, the whole proven everybody wrong thing is a lot of people, said, oh, he's not going to win. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. And a lot of the riders don't get that pressure that I think Bryce got going into the pro class. I think Bryce had a lot of pressure going into it. I think he's used that as fuel. And I think it's going to start working out in his favor here soon. And I'd have to say Wesley Wolf's another one of those riders that, he's coming off an injury, and he's using that, prove people wrong motivation to really get back into it. And I think that if he plays his cards right this year, he's going to have a phenomenal season.
I agree, man. I agree. It's going to be fun. I hope all these young men go out there and knock it out of the park. I wish they all could win, but unfortunately, it's going to shake down where it's going to shake down.
Yep. Good luck to
You
all of
know,
them. They're all my
well,
buddies.
you
Ride
know,
safe, everyone, and obviously this won't get published until after, but
you
I
know,
hope they all ride safe and it's a good race.
I've been getting to know almost all of them, and I enjoy all of them. And like I said, I wish they could all win.
Yeah.
But there are standout things in what you would consider the 3, 4, 5, 6 spot for me, maybe 7 spot. And these young men, and we'll go from the oldest down, with Rastrelli and Janusa, and then you get into Ford, Lindquist, Hogue, and these riders are on the precipice of changing the whole game.
Yeah.
I understand that Joel Hetrick is the fastest man on an ATV. I get it. But you have these young men that are tired of not winning.
Yeah.
That is dangerous.
It is very dangerous. And I think, Joel was in the same position when he was that rookie. He went through the same thing that these guys are going through, losing to the same guys every weekend. And eventually Joel, decided that enough was enough. And, he came out swinging and started winning championships. And I think that's coming very soon with these rookies. Well, not rookies anymore, but these younger riders in the class.
Jeffrey sees the clock on the wall.
Yeah, and I think that I'm happy that he's still giving it 100% and his best effort, but it's just one of those things that time goes on, and
he's gonna have to use that wily veteran stuff that he's got tucked away in his pocket.
If we could get a Jeffrey Strelly in 2016 out of his shell, that's a force to reckon with right there. And I think that I think Jeffrey's faster now than he was then, but he had a different type of grit in 16, and he went through some health issues and all that stuff. But I think if we got some old Jeffrey Strelly style and vet out of his bag, I think he's gonna be a scary competitor as well.
I believe that it's all right there. All we got to do is shake the bag a little harder, and it's going to happen.
And tomorrow, Daytona is definitely the wild card of the races that they go to. It's not an outdoor track. It's not anything that these guys train on every day. So that's why Daytona is such a difficult top 5 pick, because it's not something they're used to.
Right. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't rain.
Yeah, for real. I think it's in the forecast, but I hope it stays good.
Well, Max told me it was 70 today, so
yeah, it's hit or miss in Florida. Yeah, it's hit or miss in Florida. It could come quick.
Right on. Hey, thank you for the recap. And I know we got off track on the motocross, but I hope everybody enjoys that.